Hey everybody, welcome back to Two Bears Homestead. My name is Paul if you're new here, and we are glad that you're here. So today I am going to be doing something that I've never done before, and I don't know why I've never done it before, and that is make pasta from scratch. Now, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the measurements are all the same, the processes are the same, but I don't know why I've never done that. So I decided now's the time, because first I want to get that tool in my toolbox. I want it up here because there could be a time where you may not be able to grab some pasta from the store, and yes, I have some on the shelf, but sometimes you just want to be a little fussy with your meal, and I guess that's today. So I'm going to be making pasta, and you're coming along for the ride. Now, I can't promise you it's going to be pretty. I don't know what is going to happen, but we're going to keep that camera rolling, and I would love your feedback. I would love your tips. I would love your suggestions. And if there's ways to make like flavored pasta, or like I'm a big basil fan, so things like that, or sage, I would love your feedback. You want to drop links in the comments, anything you want to do, I would love that feedback. And also, of course, like and subscribe, but we'll get to that at the end of the video, I guess. But now I did go ahead and comb all my cookbooks, and basically, like I said, the recipes are all basically the same. The science behind it is basically the same. But I did find one online that I wanted to follow because, first of all, I don't want my cookbook in the mess I'm about to make, and also because it's spelled out a little bit more clear than some of the cookbooks. So I'm going to go ahead with this recipe that I found online. Like I said, it is identical to all the cookbook recipes. So that's it. We are going to get rolling. We're going to probably make a bigger mess than the tallow did. Maybe. I hope not. And away we go. Pulling out my scale and I'm zeroing it out, and also changing it over to gram weight measurements, and of course zeroing out for the bowl. The gram weight measurement is important in using flour, especially in pasta recipes, so I decided to just follow that recommendation. To the bowl, I'm adding 300 grams of all-purpose white flour. Of course, it's organic, non-GMO. The important distinction with the all-purpose flour is many of the European recipes say use the 00 flour, and this is the American equivalent, or as close as we can get to it. So that's what I did. And we have here, we're going in with 100 grams of semolina flour for a total of 400 grams of flour between the two. It's like a 3-to-1 ratio. That seems to be a common recommendation, so I'm kind of running with that. So adding that to the white flour in the big bowl. The recommendation from several of the pasta recipes that I read for beginners is to try doing it in a big bowl first and then transfer it to the counter. So I'm just following that recommendation here. So made a well in the middle, and then to that, for every 100 grams of flour, it is 1 large egg. So going ahead and take care of that. And then also the recipe I'm following says to go ahead and add 1 extra yolk. So there's that yolk going in. So I guess it'll just make it a little bit more eggy and a little bit more, I don't know, richer, if you will. So I'm incorporating it by hand. I mean, I could have used a fork, but I just thought it was more authentic doing it by hand, so I wanted to try it that way. And it's pretty basic. Just get it all incorporated, get it mixed in. It takes some time, but you can see already it looks like it's not coming together. And my instincts were telling me that this isn't going as well as I guess I had visions of, if you will. So, but I just wanted to keep going and keep persevering and seeing, if my instincts were right or if I was just misunderstanding. So I went ahead and kept going. But remember this part because I think it's going to come to play later. So I went ahead and just kept, trooping on and kneading it. Once I got it out of the bowl, I followed the recommendations to go ahead and knead it for 10 minutes or until it came together. But I was struggling with it. You can see that I am here. I was not happy with it. So I did take some, time to just really keep working it. But I was getting frustrated. So, again, remember this. But I did take a step back and go ahead and just add, a couple of drops of water to it to see if I could get that to, incorporate a little bit better. So just kept kneading it for 10 minutes until it came together as best as I thought it would. And then I just kept going. I mean, there's no, I guess there's no other way to say it. But it was a challenge. I mean, it was a workout. So once you get to that 10-minute point and you think it's come together, go ahead and wrap it in a saran wrap and put it on the shelf in the kitchen or on the counter and just leave it for 30 minutes to rest. Okay, so what I did here was, if you saw how hard it was for me to knead that together, and I knew that it wasn't coming together right. I mean, I kept having to add a little bit more liquid, a little bit more liquid. And so I followed through with it, and then I went ahead and I put it on, on the 30-minute rest, wrapped it up in the saran wrap, put it on 30-minute rest. But I went over and did some research real quick, and basically the weight of the egg, which is a large egg, to 100 grams of flour is about 70 grams of an egg to 100 grams. So basically 7 times 4 is 28. So I should have had 280 grams of eggs by weight. Now my eggs that are, from my local, not Amish, but Mennonite farm, these eggs are, 60 grams. This one here might be a little bit more, 63 grams. So these eggs that I had there weren't enough, so that's why it was hard for it to come together. So I went ahead and I measured out the eggs, so I actually got a little bit more than 280 grams. It's probably like, I want to say 200 and maybe like 88, maybe 290, and that's fine, because you can always add more flour, but you can't, I just wanted to try it again. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this right on the countertop, because why not? and go ahead and make a little well in the middle. That's not what they go over. Too much. This seems better. Yeah, this is so much better. See the difference here? This is the one that I didn't have enough egg in, and it is barely springing back. It's hard as a rock. This one is much softer and much more pliable. So this is the one we're going to be rolling out. So here it is 30 minutes later. I have it out of the saran wrap. I dusted it off with some flour, and we are going to be working with half at a time. So I'll just take that other half and wrap it up in some saran wrap and set it aside so it doesn't dry out on the outside. And what we'll do is we flatten it into a little bit of a disc, like an oblong disc, adjust the camera, so you guys can see what I'm doing, say a little prayer, and off to the races we go. So the first run went through beautifully, but watch what I do here. I fold it 3 times, or double fold I should say, and I'm running it through the machine, and I discovered that was entirely too much pasta, and what it's doing is it's pulling through the machine, and pulling on the pasta I should say, and it's ripping it. You can see the tear marks there, and then right there is where it gets really bad when that last little bit works through. So I just went ahead and I just folded it in half, and then I gave it a little bit of a dusting. Well, maybe I didn't. And then I just went ahead and started running it through the machine again. So the important thing is patience with it, is what I've learned real quick. Is just take your time, let the machine do the work. So it's running through the machine, and you can see it's already starting to smoothen back out. So just trusting the process, just go ahead and now I dust it, and then go ahead and just keep running it through the machine on the widest setting, which is the 0 setting, and just let the machine do the work, let the machine roll the pasta through. It works out really well, and I was getting more confident as I was getting through this. So, again, just fold it and back into the machine, and off we go. So you're supposed to run it about 4 to 5 times on the widest setting, so you kind of get the pasta, where you want it. I don't really know the science behind it yet, but I trusted that. I'm just following the process. But I think I ultimately ran it like 8 times or something like that. And then any piece that may have gotten torn at the end or little tails, I just cut off and I just put on the pile on the side. So now I'm ready to go to the first setting, and I run it through, but you'll see I dropped the pasta there and then it ripped on the end, so I just cut that piece off and set it aside, and then ran it through on one again, and then I go ahead and I set it aside, and then I wanted to get that little piece and get back, but it wasn't working, so I went back to 0 and ran it through 0 a couple of times to get it back to the same stage as the other pasta, so I can run it through on a 1 and have that whole batch together at the same place on the machine. But my thought got crumbled a little bit because it stuck to the counter, and I had to go back to 0 with the big piece, get that guy back together and get it smooth again, and which didn't take long. I think I ran it through two or three times ultimately, and got back to the 1 and then proceeded to start over again. So, and it is very, very soft, very pliable. So, according to everything I'm understanding, it's going very, very well. So, got it set, and I went to a 2, and off to the races we go. And again, just keep going once or twice on each setting. You don't have to fold the pasta on the settings once you're past the 0. So, you can run it through 2 times on the same number, but you don't need to fold it because it'll just start tearing the pasta. So kept right on going, and now I think I'm up to a 3, and it's just again a matter of following the process. I did cut this big piece in half because it was getting really long and it was getting hard to manage, but I think that it was more of a common sense reaction. But I will explain to you later why working with smaller pieces is better. And then we just went ahead and just kept running it through. And we went all the way up to a 6 on this, which I'm not going to show you on camera because it's the same thing. So this is the final setting, and now I'm at the fettuccine, and I'm running it through the fettuccine cutter. Now you can see I'm a little off center there, so I learned real quick how to fix that. But it was absolutely beautiful. It was nice, it was soft, and I was happy with the way it was going. But, I learned real quick, as nice as that is entirely too much in one cutting. So I will, in the future, be doing like 10-inch sections. I think that just makes much more sense. And also what I've learned, and you'll hear me mention at the end of the video, that I didn't use enough flour, and you can see there that the nests that I made, they're kind of clumping together a little bit. So I absolutely learned a lesson that flour. More flour is better. More is more. So I just kind of fumbled through it a little bit, but I kept right on going because I was absolutely determined to have fettuccine for dinner tonight. And, behind me on the stove, I have my dinner ready to go. So it's simmering away. So here we are. You see how long that piece is? That's, while it's cool and it's, Instagram ready, if you will, it really is entirely too long. And in the cooking process, it proved to be a nightmare. Look at me struggling to get that little piece of tail caught. Usually I have no problem with tail. But anyway, I digress. Sorry, folks, I'm being a little irreverent. But this, you see how that's entirely too long. So I didn't think it through when I was putting it through the machine, but that, cooking that and also eating that would just be entirely too much for, to manage. So in the future, it'll be 10-inch pieces, and let's just call it a day on that. So I'm going to sit here and finish running the rest through, and then we will cook it, and off to the races we go for dinner. Okay, so here we are, our pasta dinner, and it's a lot of food.
It is.
So my tomatoes, my pasta, and here we go. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Here's a spoon for you. Just gonna kind of.
It's actually really good.
Yeah, what do you think of the texture?
I like the texture.
Probably put a little too much in the bowl. But yeah, it looks pretty, it came out really nice. It has a nice al dente firmness to it, but not like too hard. I mean, it definitely. Yeah, that's really good. So my little trick of throwing the first batch away and then redoing it the second time was definitely the way to go. I ran it through the machine a few times, so I learned a few tricks about running it through the machine, like more flour. And yes, it did come out to be a colossal mess, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. So that's it. So here we go. Another successful meal in the books.
Yeah.
And okay, so I wanted to do a recap since dinner time because I've been thinking about the whole process and everything, and I had to clean up dinner too. So I have some takeaways that I wanted to share with you. First and foremost, as I'm running the pasta through the machine, the biggest trick was be generous with the flour. As I moved into the second batch and I started getting more comfortable and I started being more generous with the flour, it just went so much better. So that's the trick right there. So don't be shy about using the flour. Once you have it rolled out and you've gone through the resting period, the you don't have to worry about the flour. It'll just run through the machine beautifully. Probably saw that in the video where I was struggling a little bit, and then once I started adding that flour, man, it just went through like butter. I mean, it was beautiful. The one thing I would probably do next time is go one more setting thinner on the rolling process before I switch to head and roll it through the fettuccine cutter, because I do think that the noodles were just slightly too thick. I mean, they were delicious. I thought they were great, but I do think that they were just a tad too thick. Now that I'm thinking about it. So when I do it again, I will absolutely give that a try, see where it takes us. Maybe because I can make 2 batches. So I cook the entire batch. So note to self, when you are going through I use the fettuccine cutter, so when you go through the fettuccine cutter or your noodle cutter, is after it comes out of the machine, dust it with more flour before you make a nest, put it on the tray. Now, I don't have anywhere to hang the pasta, and I do plan on getting the little racks to hang pasta because I just think it's kind of cool. But I don't know any other ways to store the pasta right now other than to stick it in the freezer, in like those little bird nesting, and then just get them frozen and then take them out and put them in another bag and put them back in the freezer. I got to figure that part out, but I do think that it's a total win. It's just a little labor intensive. It's not hard. It just took some time, putting it together, you're kneading it, and then you got to let it rest for a half hour or so, and then come back and run it through the machine. But it wasn't difficult, and it just wasn't the colossal mess that I thought it was going to be. Thank God, because I still have nightmares and I get anxiety over the way the tallow made a mess. I was so prepared for that, but it wasn't that bad. So, and flour is flour, it just cleans up pretty easy. But the other takeaway was, aside from using more flour in the process, is to watch your measurements. Because, as you saw that first batch that I was doing, I had a terrible time kneading that and getting it back together. I was like, geez, no wonder Italian men have big shoulders. They're kneading this dough every day. But that's not the case. The fact of the matter is even though I was following the recipe as I understood it, I wasn't aware that the eggs just weren't big enough, so it was less liquid for the amount of flour, and it screwed the ratio up. Once I went back and I figured it out on when that dough was resting, when I went back and did a little research real quick, again, to reiterate what I said earlier, is you do need to have, for every 100 grams of flour, 70 grams or so of an egg. So basically an extra large egg. So if you have a little more, that's fine. If it's a little wetter, you can always add more flour, but it's not as easy to add liquid to the dough once you're forming it. It's easier just to add a little bit more flour if it's too wet. So my recipe was, 400 grams of flour, and so it came out to be 280 grams of egg. And that worked out really, really well. And I actually was under, on the eggs that I had, it came in to be I want to say 260 grams. And then I threw an extra egg yolk in there, and that put me where I needed to be. So it came out perfect, as you saw. So that's pretty much it. Now, normally I would never eat that amount of pasta that you saw me eating at dinner. I just don't eat that amount of pasta. Yes, I'm Italian, but I'm also Irish, so I like potato. But I just don't eat that amount of pasta because I just don't eat that kind of carbs. That's one of the things we're doing for our health is trying to keep that stuff under control. And I'm feeling it already. I mean, I ate that amount of carbs. I'm definitely feeling it. So, and I'll feel it tomorrow for sure. So that's pretty much it. Now I have visions, if you will, of making flavored pastas like, basil or mushroom or roasted red pepper or something like that. And I have all those dried vegetables in my pantry, but I have to figure out the ratio again. So, but if you do have any comments or suggestions or tips on how to flavor the pasta as you're making it, I would love to hear from you. Just stick it in the comments. I love interacting with people in the comments. And also what I'll do is I'll type in the description just a quick recipe of the ratio, even though I said it like 4 times. It's pretty basic, but I will go ahead and I'll put that in the comments as well, or in the description as well. So that's about it. We love being back in front of the camera, even though you only saw Rob for a hot minute or two. He was sitting there watching me do it. He was just fascinated about watching me, do the pasta. But we're just happy to be back. It's been a long summer, with the family, and then of course we had our trip out of town with the family, other family vacation. So, it's nice to be back and, learning something new and sharing it with you. So that's it. I mean, I'm starting to ramble, which means I'm back in the saddle. But again, any comments you have, tips, suggestions, please leave them below. Also, if you please share this video on your social media. That's the best way to help us out. Let people know about the Two Bears and our ultimate goal of getting our homestead going. But in the meantime, we'll just see you on the next video. I thank you for your time, and that's it, folks. See you on the next one.